Did you know bubble wrap can be a very helpful tool in building a child's impulse control? One of the many struggles of children with ADHD is focusing, following directions, and controlling their impulses. They think something and they immediately want to go and do it. A natural urge that we all have when we are given bubble wrap is to immediately start popping it, right? I know that was me when I was little and we got a package and I saw the bubble wrap and you want to step on it, you want to squeeze it. It's fun and something that we immediately are drawn to do. And so you can use that to your advantage when you're with a child because you can help them to learn to master or control that impulse or that urge they have. For this exercise, all you need is some handy dandy bubble wrap. Bubbles would work fine just as well because they're simply controlling their impulse to pop them. Before you give the child the bubble wrap, it's important to set boundaries. You can say something like, I'm going to give you a sheet of bubble wrap and I want you to hold on to it until I tell you what we're going to do next. I'm going to direct you how many bubbles that you get to pop. So after you hand them the sheet of bubble wrap and they know they're not supposed to pop any until you tell them to, you can then explain, I'm going to direct you how many bubbles you get to pop. And then you get to pop that many bubbles. And it might be hard, it might be difficult, but I know you can do this. And then at the end of the activity, I'll let you pop as many as you want. And so after kind of giving them a general idea of the activity, it's been maybe 15, 20 seconds. That's a good time for them to wait before they get to start. You can then say, okay, now I want you to pop 2 bubbles. After you wait maybe 15, 20 more seconds, you can then say, okay, now you can pop 6. And then have them wait a little bit more and you can direct them to pop 10 and then wait a little bit. Okay, now you can pop 4 of them. And a really good way to add some mindfulness into this activity is to ask them some questions. Maybe during that 20-second gap that you're having them wait between each time, you can direct them to notice how they're feeling right before they get to pop a bubble. Or how do you feel when you get to pop a bubble? And then for the next set of time that they're waiting, you can maybe ask them, what does it feel like when you're not allowed to pop any more bubbles? You really, really want to, but you don't get to. Or how does it feel right after you get to pop the bubble? And these questions can help them to really look inwards at their feelings, their thoughts. What is that process like for them of, oh, I really, really want to pop this, but I'm not supposed to yet. Or I feel anticipation, or I feel a little bit of satisfaction or relief after I get to pop the bubble. So it can just help them to notice that whole process that goes on inside of them. It's important to note that each child has a different level of tolerance for following directions. And you don't want to push them too far past that limit, but you do want them to reach that limit. And so you can attune to them and really notice when they're starting to struggle, when they start to get a little antsy or they're really struggling to continue to follow directions. That's your cue to end the activity. You've really pushed them to continue even with that initial resistance and you're like, okay, keep on going, you got this. And they've pushed through and you can tell they're getting fatigued or they just can't stay with you any longer. And that's okay because this activity is building up their tolerance. So you don't expect them to start with great tolerance. And so maybe the first time you do the activity, they're only able to do 2 or 3 of the directions. When you say, okay, I want you to start by popping 2 bubbles. And then you wait that, 20 seconds and, okay, I want you to pop 3. And then after that, they're really struggling to continue to listen. They are just getting distracted, not wanting to do it anymore. That's okay. At that point, you then just tell them, okay, we're gonna do 1 more, just hang in there. And after this one last one, then I'm gonna let you pop as many as you want to. You finish out that last one, okay, pop 4 bubbles. And then after that, be like, all right, I'm gonna set a timer for 20 seconds. And in that 20 seconds, you get to pop as many as you want to pop. So then, you pull up the timer and you're like, ready, set, go. And you let them go crazy. You let them, give into all their impulses. And even then you still have that boundary set of a time limit so that it doesn't go on and on and on and on forever. But that way they can, be able to get satisfied in that way of like, yes, okay, I waited and I followed instructions and now I'm kind of rewarded by getting to finally do as many as I want to do. Some of these kids will be able to do it a lot longer than 2 or 3 times. You might reach 10 times and they're, just following along. It's super easy for them. And that is a really good assessment for you to say, oh wow, they have really good impulse control. And so, after 10 times, maybe you're running out of time, or it's running a little long for you, or you notice that they're a little bored. They're like, okay, like I can follow directions all day, but this is really boring. Like I want to do something more engaging. At that point, you can then let them do the 20-second thing where they pop as many as they want. Or if they don't even seem to care to pop anymore, then you can just simply say, okay, we're going to do one last one and then move on. And then they'll be perfectly fine with that. Some kids will really struggle with this activity. You'll give them the bubble wrap, you've told them not to pop any, and they immediately just start popping them. Or they sneak in a few when they think you're not looking, or just to test the waters to see if they'll get away with it. And it's so natural to be a little bit irritated or annoyed at first, like, oh, come on, like, it's so easy. I gave you the instructions, please just listen. Real life never goes as smooth as these videos, right? And that is okay. In fact, that's perfect because it's why we're doing the activity in the first place, right? They're struggling with this thing, which is why we're doing it. And so, of course, they're going to struggle. Of course, they're going to not listen a few times, mess up a few times. That's perfectly expected, normal, and okay to happen. You just continue to be warm, positive, and encouraging. You know, check your tone, make sure your tone's not becoming frustrated or criticizing, and simply, you know, ask them, hey, can you give me back the bubble wrap? Can you repeat back the rules to me? We're not supposed to pop any bubbles unless I say, right? So you kind of check that with them, make sure they understand it, have them tell you what the rules and expectations are, and then say, okay, we're gonna start over, we're gonna try this again, are you ready? I know it's gonna be really hard. And validate that, like, this is not easy, I know it's gonna be hard, I know you really want to pop them all, but just trust the process, and it's gonna be okay. And at the end, I am going to let you pop as many as you want, so just hold on and just hang in there, and I believe in you, you can do this, right? So let's try this again. Okay, you know, give it back to them and be like, okay, hang on, I know it's hard, just hang on until I say, just notice that feeling, right? Oh, you really, really, really want to pop it. What's that feel like? Oh, okay, now you can pop 2. And maybe they pop more than 2, and then you have to rewind. Okay, how many did you pop? How many were you supposed to pop? That's okay, let's try it again. Let's try just popping 2. Or let's try just popping 1 and see how it goes. And then, wow, you did it! Like, you know, validate and encourage. And even though for us as adults, it might seem like the easiest thing ever, like, okay, you just popped 1 bubble when I told you to, like, whoopee, like, it's not a big deal. They're children. They're developmentally at a stage where they're learning those boundaries. They're learning to control their impulses. And it's a very, very valuable and important stage. And you get to guide them through it. Thank you for watching and supporting my channel. And stay tuned for future videos on exercises and activities that can help children to increase their mental, emotional, and social health. See you guys next time.